So now that we explain that all of the avodah that we're doing here, the blowing of the shofar, as all mitzvahs are in order to bring down these mitzvahs, the giluyim, milmailo. Now we understand that when it comes to Shabbos, those giluyim are self-propelled. We don't need to bring them down. The Shabbos has the power to bring them down by itself. However, in the Mikdash, the Rebbe will explain, over there, they were mamshich even a higher level. And there needed the shofar to bring down the higher level. The avodah in the shofar in the BeMikdash, that's why even on Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe is going to explain the different levels in Tainug and what shofar brings down, as we'll see inside. Gimel. So now with this we can understand Rosh Hashanah, SheChal BeShabbos in Tok'in במדינה, that in Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos. In Yerushalayim, במדינה, so Chutz La'aretz, we don't blow the shofar. Because the reason we need to blow on the shofar, in the shofar, on Rosh Hashanah is like we said earlier, so that we should impact the shofar of above. And as the Rebbe will explain, we impact the level of Tainuk, which is the shofar of above. BeShabbos, yes, shofar and on Shabbos, we have this level of shofar that is normally done through the Tkiya shofar, but on Shabbos we have it without the person's work. The Rebbe is going to say that we see that Shabbos things happen on their own. When we compare Shabbos to Yom Tov, Yom Tov Beis Din has to decide which day is Rosh Chodesh. So the Yom Tov, which is by the day of the month, hinges on Beis Din, hinges on the people, as opposed to Shabbos. Shabbos Kedusha is just there every seventh day. There's no involvement. So that's why by Shabbos we say Mekadesh is Mekadesh HaShabbos, but on Yom Tov we say Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim, because Yisrael inhu the Mekadesh Lizmani. Let's look inside. In the Yidua, the Yom Tov Emri Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. By Yom Tov we say Mekadesh sanctifies the Yidden and the time. She Yisrael inu the Kadeshinu Lizmanim. It's the Yidden that sanctified the times. Mashen came Shabbos, he mekacha v'kaima, as opposed to Shabbos, is sanctified and stays. We don't need the involvement. We don't have to make it kodesh. Every seventh day, the Eibishter is mekadesh. Ve'enei tluya b'Yisrael she'ikadeshuha, and it's not hinges, it's not dependent on the Yidden that they should sanctify. And that's why on Shabbos there is many aspects that are ready. Everything is many. The Rebbe is saying many because, as you'll see later on, there's a second level in Shabbos which requires the involvement of the person as well. But generally speaking, many aspects of the Shabbos are minamucha. Umehem kama be'ofen d'shleimus gam b'li avodas odom. And from amongst those things that are on their own, there are many of those things that take place without the service of man. So they are actually b'shleimus. They're complete in a perfect way, without the human involvement. However, the pasuk still says, even though Shabbos is mekacha v'kaima, and some of them are done in a perfect way, we still find that there is an avodah on Shabbos too, the human involvement on Shabbos. Because the pasuk says, "Lasis es haShabbos," to make Shabbos. What does it mean to make Shabbos? The Yisrael oisim es haShabbos, so that the Yidden make the Shabbos. And also there's another pasuk. Also it says, likewise it says, "Zochor es yom haShabbos lekadshoi." Remember Shabbos, you sanctify it. The Yisrael tzrichim lekadish es haShabbos, that the Yidden need to sanctify the Shabbos. So how does this fit with what we said before, that Shabbos is everything is on its own? There's two levels in Shabbos. You know, the idea is Shabbos, yeshtei madreges. In Shabbos, there's two levels. Masha Shabbos mekache b'kaimo mitzad atzma. We have Shabbos that it's holy on its own, and that does not require, that level of Shabbos does not require the involvement of the person. And that which the Yidden add to the Shabbos through the avodah, which means there's a part of it that the Yid has to also use his involvement in the Shabbos. And it's going to explain that what Shabbos level comes on its own, and what is necessary for the Yidden to add, because Shabbos is Tainug. On one hand, Shabbos on its own is Tainug, and on the other hand, we have to still add to the Tainug. Shabbos Shabbos is the light. And still the Chachamim, the rabbis say, that we have to delight the Shabbos, which means even though Shabbos is already the level of Tainug, we still got to delight it. Shabbos, that we need to delight the Shabbos. There's also another passage that says, la Shabbos oineg, Koroso, to call, to draw down to Shabbos oineg. That we need to call and draw down a delight in Shabbos. Why do we need to do that? If Shabbos is oineg by itself, because there's a higher madrega in oineg. There's the oineg that comes with Shabbos by itself, and there's the oineg that we add. Because through this service, the work of the Yidden, we draw down on Shabbos a greater level of time. Aval, yes, oineg mis Shabbos mitzad. There is an oineg Shabbos by itself. Mitzad, from that perspective, Shabbos mekache v'kaimo, that Shabbos is already kodesh and exists without the person. That's the level of time. That is a complete oineg. It's a full oineg just on its own. There is an additional level of oineg that the Yid gives. Who says that is an oineg on its own? Maybe the Yid has to add, because the oineg of Shabbos on its own is not really complete. So the Rebbe says no, because all inyanim of Shabbos are complete. That's the whole idea of Vaychulu, of the inyan of Shabbos. Dahare klolus inyan haShabbos hu shows nasa shlemus b'chol abriya. The general idea of Shabbos is that on Shabbos it became a wholesomeness in all of creation. As the pasuk says, Vayichulu hashamayim v'orez v'chol tzvom. Simply, they concluded the work of the heavens, of the earth, the creation, and all the armies were concluded. But Vayichulu also means they were complete, came into completion. The Vayichulu in Yanashlemus, Kipurush, Admara Tzemach Tzedek, as the interpretation of the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. That Vayichulu means that they became, God came into their wholesomeness. So on Shabbos, it must be Shleimus Atainug on its own. The Mizeh move on. Shagam ha'tainug the Shabbos k'moishu mitzad ha'atzma hu b'shleimus. So this we understand that even the level of tainug of Shabbos on its own is in a complete form. And therefore, we don't need shofar on Shabbos, Rosh-השנה, because the level of tainug that the shofar draws down is already complete on Shabbos itself. So, SheChal BeShabbos. This is why when the Rosh Hashanah comes on Shabbos, ein hechrech kol kach. It is not so necessary במדינה to blow the shofar במדינה. Soon we'll see about what in the BaMikdash. But במדינה, it's no longer necessary to blow the shofar because even in its complete form, Shabbos itself brings tainug in the complete form. What does shofar do? Shofar brings down tainug, but if we have already tainug in the complete form on Shabbos itself, we're talking about the regular level of tainug. So we'll talk about it in the BaMikdash, they reached the higher level of tainug. But Shabbos mekatshe v'kaima and vaychulu has shleimus hatainug. It's not necessary to blow the shofar then, and therefore even just a gzeira derabba, if there wasn't a gzeira derabba, apparently the Rebbe hints at that. The Rebbe doesn't say that clearly, but if there was an exile the Rabba, then that would not be a reason. So blow the shofar still. That's why the Rebbe says here, ein hechrech kol kach. It's not so necessary to be shofar b'medina. A shofar bechinas tainuk, because what is shofar? Shofar is the level of tainuk. Like the Tzemach Tzedek explains in the Mamer. So this is actually, just wanted to make sure that this is the Mamer of the Tzemach Tzedek in Torah that the Rebbe was alluding to the whole time. So Tzemach Tzedek is mevayed over there. That the shofar hu meloshin shapru ma'aseichem, improve your deeds, or that your deeds should be beautiful. They should be in the level of delightful actions. Shofar shapru ma'aseichem, delightful. Make your actions delightful. Meloshin hanoised imrei shepherd. And the pasuk that says by the brachas in Vayichi that Yaakov gave, he says he gives imrei shefer, that is delightful thing. So the word shefer, shofar, is delight. And also additional languages that the Mamer brings down. Whose aspect is delight. And since everything that is above the level of tainug of above has to come mimoch, everything comes from the dam masha l'maylo mimoch, as quoted from the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov, that what is above the Alter Rebbe, masha l'maylo is mimoch, that everything is totally by the person, that it hinges on the person. In order for it to be the level of tainug, the shofar from above, that takes place through the blowing of the shofar of the Yid. The that all takes place on a Shoshana, that takes place in the weekday. We bring the level of tainug above. BeShabbos as opposed to Shabbos, over there, the level of the light is prepared without the work of the human being. Not only is tainug ready, but it's shleimus, as we said before on Shabbos. You have the highest level of tainug. But SheChal BeShabbos, and that's why Rosh Hashanah comes Shabbos. It's not such force. The Rebbe says in Yiddish, "Im kol hashturm," with the full storm, "Kimei b'Rosh Hashanah SheChal b'Chol," as it comes to Chol. So the Rebbe says here that it gets pushed away because of that worry. You might carry it, so a small reason is enough because it's not really necessary so much because it's a comes from Shabbos itself. So now there's another aspect. We bring down the level of Tainug, but also that Tainug that we create is also brought down into the world. So this aspect of Tainug, we create Tainug and we're mamshel the Tainug in the world, that also Shabbos does, because Shabbos has an influence all the ways into the Asiyah. We say even an Oretz doesn't lie on Shabbos, which means the Kedusha Shabbos touches him. So we have the creation of Tainug that the shofar does, and we have that Tainug come down all the ways till below that Rosh Hashanah accomplishes. And that's why on Rosh Hashanah it's not necessary. Hine, the Rebbe brings down the second point here now. In addition, that through the Tkiyah shofar, you make of the shofar the Tainug above in the level of Zoh, etc. in Zoh and Vatzilus. The Masha Lamaylu Mimoch, because how does it take place above from you? So if there is Tainug in Zoh, it comes from the shofar from the Yid. Besides that, there's another point. Through Tikiyah shofar, we draw down that level of tainug that we create through the shofar. The shofar, we draw it down in all the worlds until this world of Asiyah. The Rosh Hashanah, like we say in the Davening Rosh Hashanah, the Yeda, we say three languages. The Yeda kopol k'alto pe'alto. Everything that was made, will know that you made him. The Yovin called Yitzur K'ato Yitzarte, and every formation will understand that you formed him. The Yoimar Kol Shem Neshama Ba'ape, number three, that everybody who has a soul in them will say Hashem Elokeinu Melech, Hashem is King. So there's three levels. What are these three levels? Isa v'Sidra Arizal. So we find in the Siddur Arizal the Gim, or the Shonis Elu, these three languages, Koya Gimel Elmes Biyah, that goes on the three worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah. The Shama Ba'apoi, when we say about the soul, Kol Hashem Neshama Ba'apoi, Koya Bo'el Mabriya, this goes in the world of Bria, there is the Shama Ba'apoi. Yitzur, that's evident, Bo'el Yitzira, that fits right with Yitzira, Yovin Kol Yitzur. Upoyel Bo'el Asiyah, because Asiyah is done, that's where it was done, Pu'ula. So we see that we're mamshich shem klolus kol oilmas. That's generally all the worlds. That's why in Rosh Hashanah we say these three languages. Because what we draw down on Rosh Hashanah is in all worlds. Ad ba'olam hasiyah, till the world of Asiyah. This one. So bezeh sheberosh Hashanah. So how are we going to accomplish that on Shabbos? Mela, before we say the shofar, shapru, it brings a level of tainug in Atzilus. But here we need to bring down from Atzilus into this world. How are we going to do that? So he says, B'zeh sheberosh Hashanah SheChal, BeShabbos ein Tok'in. The fact that Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos we don't blow, hu lifi shegam inyan zeh. Because also this aspect that takes place through the shofar, to bring down the level of the light in all the worlds till below. Shabbos and Shabbos it takes place just by Shabbos itself. Shabbos also has that quality that it brings down all the things lamata. Shamshocha the Shabbos, as known, what's drawn down on Shabbos is in all worlds. Gam Basiya also in this world of Asiya. As explained in many Mamorim. The Rosh Hashanah, and from them also the Maimor of Rosh Hashanah. Shachai is the Chol Olam Estam, the Olam Asiya, that the vitality of all worlds, also the world of Asiya, BeShabbos Unai Lihyos Mahachayus Shebimei Achol. The energy of Olam Asiya on Shabbos is greater. There's a change, so it impacts the Shabbos impacts this world. Because the vitality of Asiya changes on Shabbos, it's a higher level. During the weekday, the energy of the world comes from the level of Dibur. Level of Dibur. There goes in the higher level. There is the letters. The vitality of the worlds is from the letters of Machshava. Hare, the Shabbos, so we see that Shabbos impacts all the worlds. Gam be'olam hagashmi, also in this physical world, Asiya. It also impacts a change in the nature of an Amoritz, a person who is a ignorant person who normally would lie. We can't trust him that he separated the meiser so that we can eat from it. But when it comes Shabbos, we can trust him. The BeShabbos, on Shabbos, the nature of Shabbos, that Am Ha'aretz cannot lie, and we can trust him. That means that the Shabbos impacts Asiya even as far as the Am Ha'aretz. So based on all this, Shabbos accomplishes both parts, both that it creates Tainug, and also that the Tainug comes down in Asiya. So why is it necessary in the BaMikdash to blow also on Shabbos? BeMikdash or Tok'in BeShabbos, and this that in the Mikdash they would blow. Also when Rosh Hashanah comes on Shabbos, because the level of Tainug, which is the level of shofar, that they draw down through the Lihyos of the Mikdash, it's on a higher level. The level of Tainug that we draw down through blowing shofar in the Medina, that's the level of the light that Shabbos has on its own. That level of the light, that only the level of Tainug that Shabbos has on its own. Because the fact that Shabbos mekacha v'kaima, that it's already holy, so we have that level of Tainug. So that level of Tainug came on its own on Shabbos, when it comes out on Shabbos. But that's all that we draw down when we blow the shofar, that level of Tainug. And take them in Medina. So therefore, Rosh Hashanah comes on Shabbos, we don't blow in the Medina. As opposed to blowing the shofar in the Mikdash, we draw down a higher level of Tainug. Which is not there on Shabbos on its own. Similar to what we explained before, that there's two levels in Tainug. We say you have to delight the Shabbos. There is a level in Tainug that Shabbos doesn't have on its own. That takes place through the service of the Yid. And that's why in the BaMikdash they would blow on the Rosh Hashanah BeShabbos, because that level of Tainug, that didn't come as Shabbos on its own. That is the level of Ma'ar Kol HaMa'areg is a Shabbos. That is a higher level than Tainug. Gam the Cholamaniges HaShabbos, Ha'avodah the Shabbos. It's even a higher level. It's not the level of Tainug Ma'aniges HaShabbos, but it's even higher than that. It's similar that we see Shabbos doesn't have everything. Because if the level of Shabbos, Ma'aniges HaShabbos, every Shabbos has it, so why can't we just be Ma'anig the Shabbos of Rosh Hashanah? And we'll get the higher level. You're anyway supposed to be Ma'anig the Shabbos, but we need to blow shofar in the BeShamikdash on Shabbos. That means that we have to be mamshech even a higher level than the level of Ma'anig HaShabbos. Yes, Tainu gam the Chol Ma'anig Shabbos, Havodah the Shabbos. V'nimsheches rak b'Rosh Hashanah al yidei Havodah d'tkiya shofar. That highest level of Tainu comes on Rosh Hashanah through the Tkiya Shofar, not through Kol HaMa'anig HaShabbos. He's just bringing the moshel of Kol HaMa'anig HaShabbos to show that, notwithstanding the fact that Shabbos Mekatshe V'Kaimo and Shabbos is Oynik, we still have V'Koros L'Shabbos Oynik, and just like we need to be Ma'anig HaShabbos, we have blowing the Shofar Rosh Hashanah, which brings down even a higher level. Hey, well, what is the idea of this Kippur? Mamer Shom, as explained in the Mamer. The Hine b'tainug shebemitzvos yesh ne'efane. There's two levels of tainug that we have in mitzvahs. When a person delights by doing a mitzvah, there's two levels of his delight. The one first way is the delights because he fulfilled the command of David. So we don't care what mitzvah he did, what particular mitzvah it was. I'm delighting the fact that I was able to do a mitzvah of Hashem. That he sanctified it, he commanded us. The tainug mitzvahs b'Shabbat. That level of delight is in all mitzvahs equally. They make even why is it all equally? Because it's just there's a will of Hashem. Hashem's will manifests itself in different ways, different mitzvahs, but it's all Hashem's will. The will is all mitzvahs. It's what He wants that changes, but the want is all the mitzvahs. Also, the tiny that comes from that rotzin fulfilling the will, by equal by everything. The second level of tainug, wherever a mitzvah, that's the specific and individual delight that you have from every mitzvah. The b'chol mitzvah yesh tainug miyuchod. There's a special delight that you have from that mitzvah. And the Rebbe explains that delight that you have from each particular mitzvah is a greater, higher delight than the general delight of doing the Ratzon Hashem. And the Rebbe notes that itself, that we're saying that the mitzvah is a greater, the protisdiker delight is higher than the general delight, is a little different out of the Mamorim. The Rebbe addresses it also in the Mamer that follows it, the Mamer Adon Olam, that the Rebbe said on the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Beis Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe continues explaining it. But Rebbe says, "Mevayir b'Mamer that tainug aproti shekol b'chol mitzvah hu naile yoser ma'atainug shemitzad harotzin shebeshav b'chol mitzvos." That individual, specific, detailed tainug which every mitzvah has is greater than the tainug that is in the rotzin, which is in all mitzvahs. And the Rebbe points out that this to say that the tainug proti is greater, that's a novelty in this Mamer, because in many other Maimorim, the Bekama Mekoimis, in many other places, Mavur, it's explained, that the individualized intent of every mitzvah, is on a lower level than the general intent. The kan mevair, the tainug haproti unailos yoser, and here he explains that the individual delight is greater, saying that the protistic delight is higher than the general. The tainug hamelubash baharotzin. He says, what's the explanation? That why is it greater? Again, the Rebbe addresses it more at length in the next Mamer. The tainug which is dressed up in the will, which is equal to all mitzvahs, doing, delighting over doing a mitzvah. That's the revelation of tainug. Comes out begilu mashen kein hat tainug. But the individual delight that every mitzvah carries, they're rooted in the level which is the source of delight, not the revealed delight, but the delight which is the source for delight, which is higher and higher than the level of revealed tainug, that where the tainug comes revealed. So the tainug in the rotzin, which all mitzvahs, that's from the level of gilui tainug, which are revealed tainug. The tainug prati is from the mocker. And davke from each level of the source of tanogim, that brings down to each level according to its madrega. The Rebbe explained this a little bit more in the next Mamer, that davke, because it comes from a higher place, it goes down into the very specifics. But at least over here, the Rebbe just brings down the general idea that we can be mamshich from the gilui tainug, and we can be mamshich from the moker tainugim. These are two levels. Based on this, he explains the idea of shofar, mashish shofar hu meloshin tainug. That we say shofar comes from the language of delight, hanoisid imrei shefer, delightful. Delightful words, imrei shefer. It's not understood. Hare inyan hatainu ukesheyesh kamaprot. So, how is the shofar, the blowing of the shofar, which is a simple sound, and it's actually a fearful sound? How could we say that that is a level of tainug? Usually we know inyan tainug needs to be a detail. When you have a combination of various details, you have an orchestra, you have various different instruments, that creates a level of tainug that's enjoyable. But just a simple voice is not enjoyable. Especially the shofar. How? Same thing is the delight in the sound of a nigun, of a song, or klizemer, and instruments that's played. You have a choir, you have a combination of various sounds or various instruments. You have an orchestra. Since shofar is just one sound, how could we say there's delight? It's not only a theoretical question. The shofar, it doesn't provide any delight, so it actually makes fear. On the royim, we see actually practically the kol shofar ein b'tainug, there is no delight. That awakens, arouses a trembling. The pasuk says, The verse says so. Will a shofar blow in a city and the people will not tremble? Also, it says, the koil shofar chazak me'od, there was a very loud sound of the shofar. And the whole people that were in the camp were trembling. The people saw that sound and they moved and they stood from a distance, which means they became fearful from the shofar. That because of this tremendous revelation and wondrous, big and wondrous the Bekol Shofar, Aleim Efotas. The Pasuk says that you appear at the davening. You say you appear to them with the sound of the shofar. Hoyul bebitl, that created a subjugation. And he stood from a distance. The charodu bitl hemepachataynu. But this fear, trembling, and subjugation that we're talking about, that comes to by Yamdu Merochik, a level of bitl and fear, this is opposite of tainuk. So how would he say that shofar is about tainuk? So explains in the Mamer, the shofar, how do we say that shofar comes from the language shofar shapru masechem and his idea of tainuk? As explained in the Mamer there, that's the Mamer that the Rebbe continues to speak of in the in the Mamer from the Tzemach Tzedek. Shel shofar tainug Lihyos so bechinas mokerat tanugim shelamayla bechinas gilat tainug. When we say that shofar is tainug, it's the source of the tanugim, which is higher than revealed tainug. Revealed tainug has these qualifications or these criteria of protim and there is the light. But this is not the gilu tanug, but this is the source of tanug. That's why in the sound of the shofar we don't feel any the light at all. And in the contrary, places of fear. Because it's higher than the revealed level of tainug. When we say that it's a source of tanugim. And from that level, the hidden level, the source of tanugim, that from there comes all the details of the tanugim which come out begol. Zeu mashe shofar umeloshin shem shapru masechem. The shofar is improve or beautify your actions, meaning the tainug, the light in the plural, in the actions, which means to bring down the level of tainug in masechem in the plural, masechem Moshe Rabbeinu. But the idea ki a shofar nifal b'chol ma'isa hashipur v'hatainug hashayach l'ma'isa protizeh. Through the shofar, we accomplish in every act and act, whatever we do, that improvement and that delight which is applicable to that detail. Ki hamshoche mibchinas mekoyrat tanugim, Because when it comes down from the source, then we can now boy from the Schalkus Protim Dafke. From there, it comes down divided into details. In itself, there is no Tanugim. It's the Mokra Tanugim. But what it accomplishes, it gives to each mitzvah the level of Tainug in everything we do. Shapru Masecha. V'zohu gamkein hashaychus. And this is also the connection, the Shefel Matan Torah. As we say in the Musaf Rosh Hashanah, because we're saying that the shofar, the delight, brings down the light in every details, and all the Torah mitzvahs that we got on Matan Torah, those are all the details that get that level of the delight. That's why the shofar brings the light in all the pratim of Torah mitzvahs. And you appear to them with the sound of the shofar. So, because we got from the higher level to come down onto the level of all the detail. The Matan Torah hoisam shochas ha'atzmud ano nafshis ksovis yovis. But there was the drawing down of the atzmos, which is ano nafshi ksovis yovis. The Eibishter cells on noichi is abbreviation. I myself have written down, which means a level of ano came down in Torah. Hamshochas bechinas moker ataynugim shemelamaylo mebechinas gilo ataynug, to bring down the level of the source of tanugim, which is higher than the gilo ataynug. That's the shofar. The shofar is the sound, not a tainug what we feel. It's a higher than tanugim. And the Matan Torah came down the level of ano, the source of tanugim, which is higher than Ruta. And from the higher level, from ano, the source of tainug, comes down the delight in the sayings, and each saying specifically, and every word they said, the light, they so flew away, that experienced that level of the light that came down into Edge Dibur. And that was a delight which has a connection to that specifically, that tremendous level of tainug, which caused the neshama to fly away, fly out. Then it comes out even more detailed. To teach them Torah mitzvahs. This is in the 10 sayings. Then we have the Torah mitzvahs. Every mitzvah specifically gets from the level of ano, the level of mokra tainug, the source of tainug, and becomes the revealed level. Both. So same aderech zeh gambi in tkis shefer the Rosh Hashanah. Similarly, is also with the belonging of the Rosh Hashanah shiham shocha b'chinas mokra tainugim shelamayim b'chinas gila tainug. That Antkiyas Shefer, the Rosh Hashanah, we bring from the source of Tanugim, which is a higher place with the revealed Tanug. It's a shofar. It's not, it can't high the high level. Because we need to start all the way from the top. We can't start only from the level of Gilu Tanug. We need to go back to the source of everything, because everything goes back to the very beginning. We need to renew everything from the first and early, the first source and the root. Ad matzmus muhus, till the end of matzmus. Okamakein hugam beinyan habris v'his kashrus dakodesh baruch im Yisrael. The same thing is that covenant and the tie of the Eibishter with the Yidden. It needs to be started all over, all the way from atzmus connecting with the Yidden. The B'chol Rosh Hashanah Nasa Bris Vais Kashrus Mechodosh. On every Rosh Hashanah we have that covenant and that tie all anew. Kameshikosu, as the pasuk says, Atem Nitzovim Hayoim, that today we are standing, which goes on Rosh Hashanah. Every Rosh Hashanah, we connect again all the way. Rosh Hashanah Gomer, Sov Mayim, as brought down the Torah, that this is Rosh Hashanah La'avrucha B'Bris Hashem Alekecha. On Rosh Hashanah, we go through the bris. We start all the way from the beginning. The Hamshach Hasabris, but Rosh Hashanah, that extending the bris in Rosh Hashanah, that comes from level of atzmus, which is higher than any revelations. The Rebbe says we can move on. Gam b'shem b'shnei ha'misholim malkiyas shofar shehuvu behemshach v'koch lad marash. The two examples that are brought down in the hemshach v'koch of the Rebbe Maharash. Now the Rebbe says very interesting in the next Mamer. The Rebbe will say that the Rebbe didn't want to elaborate. The Rebbe says about himself in the next Mamer that he didn't want to elaborate about the Misholim because these Misholim speak about negative about the Yidden, and he doesn't want to speak negatively. So the Rebbe is just hinting to these Misholim, just on bringing out only the positive. And then the Rebbe explains how come the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barditchev, because just by saying Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barditchev, it takes away the negativity, as the Rebbe will explain in detail in the next Mamer. Also, the two Shahuv, Bamshav V'Koch Lad Marash. Moshul Echad B'Shem HaMelech, B'Shem HaBal Shem Tov 1. Moshul comes the name of Bal Shem Tov, Miben Melech, from a son of a king that he got lost and he was far away and he was totally distant. He came back to the king after years, but he couldn't even speak the language, and nobody believed him that he's the Ben Melech. So finally, Shaydei Shetzog B'Koil Pashut Hikira Melech Shu Koil B'nai Yechidei. Over there, the king recognized this is the voice of my only son, and the king took him in. That's the shofar, that cry, no words, nothing, just the shofar. Even though there is no words in the language of the king's country, in the Davkes Paul Chidush HaKesher, it's specifically that cry out without words created that renewal of the tie between the king and the son. And the next moshul, that's the moshul of the Baal Shem Tov. Moshul beis Morav Agoy and Achosid. Morein Rev Levi Yitzchok Zalmi Barditchev, second moshul from the Goyen Chosid of Yitzchok Barditchev. Oyev Yisrael Hayedu Mefursum is a known and public lover of Yidden. And the Rebbe, like I said, the Rebbe said later on, he brings all this down. The Rebbe doesn't want to elaborate here and say the negative, as the Rebbe will say in the next Mamer. But he brings a story, Me'inyan Levushim Pshutim. He brings about simple garments, the Levushim Lamata Mekril Pashut. That moshul of garments are even less than a koil pashut. It's not even a cry out. It's there the moshul goes that the king got lost in the forest and nobody could direct the king back home. And it was a stranger who was a very simple person, and he was able to show the king on the road back home, and the king was saved. And then the king was very, very pleased. He took him and he dressed him with nice garments. He put away his old garments that he was there originally when he found the king, put it in his treasure. And then eventually, this friend of who helped the king, he did something wrong, something very wrong, and it was day of judgment, and they were going to punish him severely. And then he asked one thing. He said to go ahead and bring him those garments that he wore at the time when he saved the king. And when the king saw that, he remembered that this was the guy who saved him then. And the king take away the judgment. That's the king. The Rebbe says these garments are even a lower level than Koposhta. Through putting on those very simple garments, that renew that connection, that tie between the king and his friend. The nekuda so inyan hamuvenes mishnei mishalim eluhu. So what's the point that we can understand from these two examples? The chidush habris v'ha'is kashrus shenase bereish hashana al yidei tkiya shofar, the renewal of the covenant and the connection, the tie that takes place on Rosh Hashanah al yidei tkiya shofar, through the blowing of the shofar. It's not because of the level of giluyim. Shari b'kol poshut ein boy afilu meloshim b'dinas hamelech. Because in the simple sound, there's not even the language of the. He forgot the language. The son. Because kein levushim pshutim shem lamata mekol. For sure, these simple garments that he dresses up in them to remind the king of the time that he was there. Shem lamata mekol, which alone the ki'im. It is a new connection that was never yet there. That's the connection that is taking place because of the connection, the father and his son, and the father with this person over there, not because of any of their greatness. All what they can remember is that yelling, and all they can remember is that garment. וזהו גם כן הקשר והשייכות לתקיע שופר בראש השנה עם כל שופר שהיה במתן תורה. And that's also the tie and the connection of tkiya shofar Rosh Hashanah with the coil of the shofar that was matan Torah. That it reached into the level and a new higher level that no nafshi the Rebbe brought down. Move about Vudraham b'shem Harav Sadye going. But time may have tkiyas when he brings down the reason of the tkiyas. So Inyan Hashlishi starts the third idea over there in the Rasag Sadye going. And also as explained in that Hemshech in the parable of the Barditchev, that ki yashoy for the Rosh Hashanah, that the blowing of the shofar of Rosh Hashanah, who oisoy halevush shahoye b'matan Torah, that garment that he was wearing and reminded the king that he saved him. What was the garment? That was the garment was matan Torah. But he koila shofar. That shofar and this shofar, that reminds him, that brings back the kshem shekoil ha-shofar the matan Torah. U'amshoch as bechinas mekoira tanugim. Just as the sound of the Shema Torah is bringing down the source Tanugim. Ba'ad lam shachas ha'atzmus kenal, until the level that you bring down atzmus. Al derech zehu gam b'inyan tkiyas shofar the Rosh Hashanah. So the same thing is by Rosh Hashanah, bringing the point that it goes all the ways to the top. The inyan abris shemis chadish b'Rosh Hashanah ma'atzmus, the idea of the bris that comes on Rosh Hashanah comes from atzmus. And also the renewal of the rotzin, Hashem's desire, likiyum ha'elamois l'b'chinas melucha shal dei tkiyas shofar. This rotzin, where does it come from? To give sustenance to the world and to the level of melucha, to intamachune aleichem, which is the idea of tamachune aleichem. Bikiv shekol advarim chayzin lakad musam. Since everything goes to the beginning, humaatzmus. So therefore, it goes all the ways higher level. That's the idea of tkiyah shofar. Just like the Rebbe brings, like the shofar by matan Torah, all the example, just like there, here all the yonim of Rosh Hashanah is renewed from the top, from the beginning. So when we begin the bracha of shofars, we start with matan Torah. We say, Ato nigleso, So, Al Har Sinai. We start off Matan Torah. So it starts of Lamed Lamcho Torah mitzvahs. So that means that it goes. This is the Matan Torah. It starts the Ata Nigleisa. Starts with Torah mitzvahs. So that's the level that Tok'in shofar there is a renewal of Torah mitzvahs. And then you'll find birchas zichronos, chaysmim, zoicher abris, shekoi al abris shekoi shebricha v'Yisrael. The Rebbe says that there is a chidush bris, the atem nitzovim. Hayoim lo avrecha b'bris shemakecha. V'lifnei zeh b'birchas malchis, misayimim aloich al kol haaretz. So the Rebbe says in all inyonim, Tkiyah shofar Rosh Hashanah is the bris, shemischadz b'Rosh Hashanah ma'atzmus, and the rotzin l'kiyum ha'olamos, and l'bchinas melucha. So that's why by the birchas shofar, it starts with nigleisa, we say shomeya kol turam shel barachmim, the schatshus of the shofar, and the zichronos choismim zecher abris shekoi beikar al abris hakadosh baruch hu v'Yisrael atem nitzov mayim lavrecha b'bris Hashem lekecha, which is renewed. ולפני זה בברכת מלכות מסיימים מלוך על כל הארץ שזה נעשה דעת המלכות עליכם. כמו שאמרנו לפני זה בפסוקים מלך ישראל וכאלה. These are all starting from the new, side for the bris and side for the melucha, and also for Matan Torah for the Giluyim, as it was by Matan Torah of Torah mitzvahs, the rotzen chodesh, the rotzen for Torah mitzvahs. The Zohu, Masha BeMikdash, Hayu Tok'in Rosh Hashanah, SheChal BeShabbos. And that's why in the Mikdash they would both blow in Rosh Hashanah also when it comes to Shabbos. They give on the Inyan Tkiyah Shofar Rosh Hashanah, who am shochas b'chinas moker atanugim shalomayim b'chinas gilui, since it's bringing down the source of the nugim, which is higher than gilui. Just like the koila shofar was Matan Torah was the level of moker atanugim, it's higher than gilu. The b'china zu, that level of moker atanugim, nailis b'chinas atanug de Shabbos, that's greater than the level of tanug Shabbos. Gam b'china chinal de Shabbos, even the higher level of Shabbos, even the very highest level of Shabbos. Okay. So now we have to bring down this higher level. Okay, so then the question comes back. If we bring it down the Makar Tanugim, so why only in the BeSammikdash? We're going back to the question. The reason why we blow only in Mikdash not Medina, Sham Shocha b'china zu. Makar Tanugim, Tloi Luya betnaya Makar. Because to be able to bring down that level of Mokar Tanuim, that depends on the condition of the place. Only the BeSammikdash there was openly godliness. It was so revealed that even in the stones of the BeSammikdash, they were able to bring down this level. So the fact that in BeSammikdash, where godliness was begilui, and the gilui also in the stones that became a holy place and everything, the stones of the Mishkan, also, so then you can take this highest level of Mokar Tanugim. So that's why in the Mikdash they would blow on Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos. Because that level is higher than Taka than Shabbos. So that's why we have to blow the shofar. Because Rosh Hashanah in the BeSammikdash, in which there was Giluyim, it can reach up to the level of Atzmus Moker Atanugim. And that gives you higher, even when Shabbos alone, the fact that it's Shabbos in the BeShabbos, and it's Rosh Hashanah in the BeShabbos, and yet you need the Tkiya shofar to bring down that level. Mashenkein in Medina, over there we don't have that level. We cannot bring down the Mokar Tanugim. So it comes out all the Mesholim that we gave before for Tkiya shofar, from the Barditcher and the Baal Shem Tov, that's the Atzmus, that's to get the higher level. But the lower level, that we bring down Gilu Atainu, that we bring down Shif Shofar, Shapar Masechem, that we bring down everywhere, wherever we blow the shofar. And on Shabbos we accomplish that, comes down alone. On Shabbos, Rosh Hashanah comes down alone. But that level of Mokar Gilu Atanugim, that's only through shofar in the Beis HaMikdash or in the Mishkan. Just like it was in the Beis HaMikdash. But they were able to mamshach this highest level. Similarly, is also in Torah, we can bring down the level of Mokar Tanugim. The B'yoyim Shechar, because in a way, Torah replaces the Beis HaMikdash. The B'yoyim Shechar of Beis HaMikdash, Ein Leila Kodesh Baruch Hu Ba'olamoi, from the day that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Hashem has in His world only the 4 Amos of Allah. SheChal BeShabbos. That's why we say the verses of shofars on Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos also in Chutzlaris. So we're going to say, we're not going to blow the shofar, but we're going to do the psukim. Because the psukim reach into the highest level of Mokar Tanugim, just like in the Beis HaMikdash. Since the Torah is the level of Mikdash. And then the person that blows and the one that hears, there becomes a person that is free through the occupation of Torah, so you sort of get also the level of the Beis HaMikdash, you get freedom. You get the Geula. The idea is learning Torah properly, becomes the idea of freedom. Similar to what it was in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. The Torah. When you say the verse of Torah, we make up similar idea that was done through the Tkiya shofar and the Mikdash. Because Torah is Mikdash, and the person who learns Torah becomes a Ben Chayrin. And that brings you free, like the Beis HaMikdash, people are free. So that's why when we do the mix of Psukei Zim, we still have to, the Psukei Shofars, still have to say them, because we accomplish that higher level, just like Tkiya shofar and the Mikdash. This is done with great joy. As explained in the Hemshech of Rosh Hashanah for the Friedrich Rebbe, that the crowning of the king is with great joy. The level of tainig that we draw down through blowing the shofar in the Mikdash, and similar also to the verse of in Chutz La'aretz, Bechinas Tainug HaPoshet. Shofar in the Mikdash and Psukei Shofar bring down this simple level Tainug. Derech Hambur Baruch Hu SheChal BeShabbos. SheChal BeShabbos. The Mamer Shab, the Rebbe Shabbos Medina Tainug talks about level Tainug Shu Dugmas Bechinas Yom Shekul the Shabbos Umnucha L'Chaye Lomim. That is similar, that Tainug in the level of Yom Shekul the Shabbos Umnucha L'Chaye Lomim. and the kol mashal l'mayla mimoch kinam teres magid. Everything comes from the yid. Therefore, it's in the power of every yid. Not only to accomplish all matters of ishtalshlus, but gam in yonim also the greatest things. But ishtalshlus, can even accomplish the tainuk poshut. It comes through the yid. It says, this should extend below. Be king over the entire world in your glory, to the extent everything, as we said before, the Asiya, all the lowest level. For certainly, not only for the Yidden to be the king of Yidden, also redeeming because the Redeemer, the Mashiach, the true and complete redemption through a righteous Mashiach. Also, you talk of Yitku, Hagam BeShabbos, SheChal is BeSav will be Avner will blow, then this BeSav in BeSav and in Yavne, as the Mishnah says over there in Rosh Hashanah, that when Mashiach will come, the Gambachol Mokim. Also in all places, not only in Yavne, because the Gemara says that in the Mishnah that in Yavne, where the Gedolei Yisrael, they also blew on Shabbos. Not only in the BeSav was the exception, but that will be B'chol Mokim and Mokim, because he's Batla Kola in Yonim Digzedus. All matters of decrees, B'meheru, B'imenu Mamish, U'B'simcha Gedola, very soon our day, and with great joy.